Welcome to today's program, Elko Live, here on KELK. As we like to do, we're catching up with the Terrace at Ruby View Executive Director, Matt McCarty. Matt, we're recording a little bit early to accommodate my schedule, but it gives you some time to mingle at lunch today, so I'm happy about that.
It does, and I thought maybe we were recording early because I'm always late, so thank you as always. No, this works great. We always appreciate the opportunity to come on and visit with your audience, which we believe is a good number of our members, and also just to be able to talk about the Senior Center. So thank you, Lori.
Absolutely, Matt. I know I always feel like I should do a shout out at the beginning of the show because I agree. A lot of your senior faithful who love our Terrace, Ruby View, are KELK listeners, and I appreciate them so much. They keep us informed too, Matt. They keep the story straight, keep it real. They let us know what we're doing right. It's not always about complaining. Sometimes it's great to get that attaboy too.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, absolutely.
Super. So we want to start off by talking about special events, activities, and you generate a lot of awareness at the center for some serious issues at times.
We do, yes, absolutely. So I want to talk about one of those serious issues here in just a little bit. But first, of course, we just got through the time change, and we're still trying to recover the time change. And for anybody that's out there that has not already done so, we try to remind our folks now is a good time to check your smoke alarms, your carbon monoxide detectors. Make sure that everything's in working order. Replace the batteries. If you need help, because we don't want people climbing on ladders and step stools if they're unsteady. If you need help, then just give us a call and we can try to facilitate that. So we want to make sure that everybody's safe. So it's a good time twice a year to remember, let's get those things checked. And so we wanted to make sure to put that out there. And then we also wanted to make sure that folks know that we are partnering with Immunize Nevada again. This time it's going to be a more regular partnership. Immunize Nevada will be coming into the center once a month to give a presentation of some sort. And then twice a year, generally in the spring and the fall, we'll be doing an immunization clinic. Typically, that's going to include pneumonia, influenza, shingles, COVID, a number of vaccinations that they'll be able to administer at the center. So we're getting excited about having that on a more regular basis so that people can help plan a little bit as well. Most of the time, I think it's going to be April and October is what we're looking at for kind of a rough timeline.
I know you've got something coming up March 21st. Is that the date for Immunize Nevada, I think?
So I believe it is. It's the third Thursday at noon, and I think that may be right because I think, this Thursday is the 14th, so the 21st. Yeah.
It's funny, but I remember that because, again, as I was saying, I'm really trying to, stay abreast of some of these serious issues, and I appreciate the message that Immunize Nevada is bringing in that this herd immunity is all of our responsibility, and immunization is part of herd immunity. So they want to educate people.
Exactly, yeah. They want to make sure that folks understand that the herd immunity is a real scientific phenomenon, and it does make sense. I belong to the Rotary Club, and one of our main pushes is Rotary International is the eradication of polio, and we've gotten it down to two countries. A couple of outbreaks every now and then, but 2 countries is all it takes to eradicate polio, and part of that is because if you think about it, it makes sense logically. If the bug doesn't have a host to be able to live in, it's going to die. And so we want to make sure that our folks are healthy. And I know that sometimes it turns political, but with this age group, particularly with our seniors, it's proven that they are more susceptible to this, and we want to make sure that folks are aware of the opportunities if they'd like to participate.
Thank you, Matt, so much. Again, that's a great opportunity, as you said, to get information firsthand and ask those questions from people who are within the medical community.
Absolutely. We also, on the medical side of things, we're also partnering with Great Basin College Nursing. And so later this month, we're going to be having a presentation where some of the Great Basin nursing students will be coming in and giving a presentation on a topic that they need. It helps them, not only helps them with their public speaking, but it's also part of the curriculum. They need to be able to address folks and address the community. And then in April, we're going to have a group with Dr. Dankowski's a number of students with Dr. Dankowski's group come in, and they'll actually perform some some wellness checks, some health checkups. It's not going to be invasive. It's simple heartbeat and blood pressure, et cetera. But we want to make sure that folks know about that as well.
You're really helping those students out, and they're helping our community. This is how the program grows, and some of the people who attend the activities and the meals at the Terrace Matt are people who help to build Great Basin College. So it's a great way to give back.
Absolutely, and it is all about that partnership, and we want to make sure that folks are aware of that. We also, on the health side of things, if any of our members or any of the community that's 60 and better, you've got to be 60 and better, you have to be a senior, but if you are 60 and better and you happen to miss the health fair this past weekend, and you really wanted to be able to participate in the lab, the free lab draw, contact the Terrace. We may be able to assist with that, not a guarantee, but we certainly have some resources that we may not that may not be available other places, and we want to be able to help people with that. So if you are interested, call the Terrace at 775-738-3030. 3030, of course, adds to 60, and 60 and better is who we cater to. So please give us a call or stop by, and we may be able to give you some information if you missed the free lab draw that the hospital put on.
Great. What a wonderful opportunity. 775-738-3030. You can find information online too at elcoseniors.org if you want to bookmark that website.
Absolutely. So we've got some great food options. On Friday, we're going to be celebrating our St. Patrick's Day lunch. So that'll be a corned beef and cabbage and potatoes. We'll have a Texas sheet cake with green icing. So we hope that folks will be wanting to come on up, and we'd be happy to feed them. For those that are 60 and better, it's only a suggested donation of $3. And for those that haven't yet quite gotten as good as 60, it's only $10, which we think is pretty darn reasonable.
Yeah, delicious meals. And again, you'll find friends at every table. And that's part of the reason that it's such a great idea to head up and eat meals in person. If you can't make the meals in person, if you're recovering from an injury or a surgery or just can't get out of the house, you can get Meals on Wheels, and you're serving both Elko and Spring Creek now, Matt.
We are, yes. We and through the state, we've been blessed enough to have a grant that's provided 2 different trucks for our Spring Creek route. So just a couple of years ago, we got to get introduced into Spring Creek. That's the first time we've ever been able to have meals out in Spring Creek. And now we also have a second truck. And so we want to make sure that folks in Spring Creek know we are here for them. We're happy to go ahead and deliver. And if you're in the city of Elko limits, then we are happy to deliver with you as well. Whether it's temporary, as you mentioned, if someone's recovering from a fall or from surgery, if something's going on along those lines that have made them housebound, we can deliver to them on a temporary basis as well. And then for those that maybe need a little bit more permanent help, we can help with that as well.
Yep, and you can always get my ride through Elko County, Greater Elko Area Transit, super door-to-door service. Again, very inexpensive, if not free, depending on your status. I know there are veterans, I think, ride free, for example, Matt.
I believe so, yes.
So some great opportunities, and you can call Elko County's Get My Ride to make reservations and see about that opportunity, too.
Yeah, and it works great. They are another great partner. We love having that partnership. They bring a handful of our seniors, both from Spring Creek and Elko, to the center almost daily. It's terrific because we wouldn't see those friendly faces without them. We know that many of us work in the community, and when we have those that are maybe a little elderly, maybe they don't feel so comfortable driving anymore, or maybe you don't feel so comfortable with them driving anymore, but yet that doesn't mean that also you have to stay there and be with them the whole time. We have one lady that comes in from Spring Creek every day and usually is there about 9 a.m. and then heads home about 2 or so in the afternoon, makes a day out of it, and she visits with people and she sits right in front of the fireplace and she reads her book, and it's amazing. She really has fun and seems to be very, very happy there. And as you mentioned earlier, there are friends at every table. And if not, then there are potential friends at every table.
Matt McCarty is Executive Director of the Terrace at Ruby View, our senior and active lifestyle center. And again, it's primarily for those 60 and older, but a lot of activities and opportunities for people simply from the community. The center is available for rentals, for parties and events and activities too.
Absolutely, and we appreciate when folks do give us that opportunity. It helps us to shore up the bottom line a little bit, to bring in some extra income. Because it is a suggested donation of only $3, we need to supplement that meal cost from other places, and renting the center helps us to be able to cover those costs. And we appreciate all of the help we can get there. We're not a hotel, we're not a convention center. We don't have staffing to do it, so sometimes we can't meet every demand. We just don't have the personnel to be able to do it. But when we can, and if there's not an option that fits your schedule in other areas, then we are happy to certainly give it a go.
Well, Matt is also well connected in the community. So if there's something that you need to know, if Matt doesn't know the answer, I'd be shocked. But then I also know that Matt will find someone who has the answer for you. So absolutely, I love the customer service side of things, and finding answers to people, and or finding answers to questions from people. We all have something to give, and if I don't know it off the top of my head, then I know somebody that will be able to help me get that answer, I'm sure. You are the king of hospitality, Matt, so thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And we want to make sure we're getting to all of your topics today. Before we want to spend some time talking about, again, the serious subject of dementia and Alzheimer's.
Absolutely. Before we go there, just a couple of other shout outs. On the cost of the meals, we have found that there are some meals that are more expensive to prepare than others, and they're also more popular with our community than others. And so there are a few meals in which we increase the cost to $15 per person because of the cost that it takes for us. Those are for guests only. The seniors, the members, still pay only $3 as a suggested donation. But if you bring someone in, or if you are as a non-senior are interested in coming in, then the Easter meal that we'll have at the end of the month will be one of those $15 meals. So we want to make sure that folks are aware of that. It's only for the guests that are not yet 60. Seniors, you're still able to pay $3 as a suggested amount. But everybody else, we don't want that to be them to be caught unawares, because last time there was some consternation when they didn't know that we were going to that. So we want to try to make sure that folks are aware of that.
It's rough to be so popular. I mean, that's the thing. Great friends, amazing food, fun activities, and you're already in the queue planning for growth. You have an active board of directors, Matt, and they're already eyeing what's possible here in the next 10 to 20 years out. So
absolutely.
Very cool. No worries. We can mention bingo for sure. It's
bingo,
still
absolutely.
Going on.
Yeah. When this airs, bingo is going to be the next night. So Thursday night in Elko. That'll be Thursday the 14th. Doors, of course, in Elko open at 5. Game starts at 5:30. In Elko, we have hot dogs and nachos and some sweet treats, usually some soda and chips. So there are some opportunities for you to be able to buy things at the center for concessions if you'd like. And then the next week, on Wednesday the 20th, we'll be out in Spring Creek. And at Spring Creek, we've got the club restaurant right next door. So if you want to get something from the restaurant, get an adult beverage to bring in, you are welcome to do so. In Spring Creek, the doors open at 5:30, just to give that extra half hour or so for folks to get home. And then the game starts at 6 p.m.
These bingo games are super popular. They are for the over 21 set because this is serious bingo, and you take home some prizes, but you're supporting an awesome cause.
That's right. Yeah, we think it's pretty awesome. We're a little partial, but it is cash payout. So 50% of whatever we take in goes back out for the bingo packets when they're purchased. And so we do give cash prizes out. I tell people that if you want to win big money, come to the Elko one. If you just want to win and say, yay, I'm a winner, go to the Spring Creek one. It's much smaller, so your odds are much better out in Spring Creek to actually be a winner. But sometimes you only may win $2.25, and yay, we'll celebrate that. So we want to make sure that folks know that, and it's a fun time. It's again one of those things that people will come in and say, oh, I didn't know you came to bingo, and they start talking to old friends that maybe they haven't seen for a while.
Yep, it's a great gathering. People who are hooked on bingo are definitely excited about these games, Matt. Super cool.
Yes, ma'am.
So, talking with our director of the Terrace at Ruby View, it is Matt McCarty in on our program today.
Thank you, Lori. And we're going to shift gears a little bit. As many in the community know, we lost one of our seniors just a couple of weekends ago up North 5th Street. She had gotten turned around and then passed away because of the elements. And we want to talk a little bit about the importance of Alzheimer's and the importance of dementia. Unfortunately, she did have dementia and she did get turned around. She got confused. This happens often, and it's something that no one is to blame for this. I certainly don't want this coming out as critical by any means. In a cruel twist of fate, her family was already coming out here to move her back to Tennessee to be with them. They, when she passed, they didn't even have to change a plane ticket because they were already on their way. And it's very frustrating that time worked the way it did, and time was actually her enemy. She, one of the signs of dementia is a confusion with time and place. She would show up to appointments with doctors, with hairstylists at the wrong time or on the wrong day. And it wasn't just I misread my calendar. It was, no, today is Tuesday, and it was actually Wednesday. Or she would call me on a Saturday morning at 6 a.m. and say, hey, nobody's here yet. When are you opening the doors for lunch? And we'd say, well, it's 6 a.m. Normally we wouldn't have been opened until 7:30 anyways, but it's also Saturday. And she didn't realize that. And so there are 10 warning signs of dementia, and these are put out by the Alzheimer's Disease International and the Alzheimer's Association. And it's not just dementia, it's also Alzheimer's, because that is one of the dementia diseases. And that problem, that problem keeping track of time and place, that disorientation, is one of those signs. And another sign is that there's a poor or decreased judgment. So when it was dark and she went out, people questioned, well, why would she go out? It's again that judgment issue. They just don't know. Their brain starts attacking itself, and it's hard for people watching it, and it's so hard for the people living with it. They get frustrated and they get angry because they know something is not right, and they don't like having that loss of control. So let's go through perhaps the 10 warning signs. Everybody kind of talks about, oh, well, I'm having a senior moment because I've forgotten something. Memory loss is a big part of it, but this is more than just the occasional, oops, I forgot. This is an issue with not being able to remember key things and remember conversations that we just had with them. So if you or if someone you love is having some problems with memory, please talk to your doctor. Same with all of these signs. Please make sure that you visit with a doctor. Another sign is difficulty performing familiar tasks. If you're a coffee drinker and you go to make coffee and you stand there at the coffee maker for a minute trying to remember what it is that you need to do, how it is that you make coffee, you get into your car and you need to stop and pause for a minute. How do I start the car? Those are simple things that we do so regularly in our lives that we do it without even thinking about it. And if those tasks are something that now you or your loved one has to start thinking about, that's a pretty clear indication that there's something else wrong, and maybe talk to a doctor. Problems with language. And it's not just speaking it, it's reading it and writing it down. Especially like if somebody was dyslexic as a child, and if they start writing their numbers and their letters backwards all of a sudden, again, that could be something that the brain is not firing properly. get somebody to look at that. It doesn't always mean dementia and Alzheimer's. There are a number of other medical things that it could be, but certainly that is something to say, let's come in and visit with someone. We also forget things. We put something somewhere and then forget where we put it, and then we have to go around the house looking for it. But if this is happening on a regular basis, then that again is probably something that is indicative that there's an issue. And a way to get around that is to start developing habits now while you're healthy. Always put your keys in the same spot so that you know where they are all of the time. Always put your reading glasses in the same spot. Develop those habits now, and then if you should develop dementia or Alzheimer's and you find that they're not where they're supposed to be, hopefully your loved ones, your friends, your neighbors will know, well, this is the habit. So if you're not doing that habit, maybe that's an indication that you should talk with someone. Misplacing things, putting perhaps your keys in the refrigerator, not just keeping track of where it is, but putting it in the wrong spot. Leaving your milk and perhaps putting your milk on a bookshelf instead of in the refrigerator. Things that it's not just misplacing it or not keeping track of it, but it's putting it in the completely wrong area. So consider those kind of things. Perhaps if someone's a reader and has books, if all of a sudden that you see a book is in a plant, okay, whatever it is, something at the time, the brain said, yeah, this is where you put your book. And that's not the right thing to do. So if you go to your friends or your loved one's house and you see something that's out of whack, maybe just ask them about it, and they can go from there. However, when asking about it, understand that a change in mood and behavior, especially a quick change in mood and behavior, is also, it's a concerning sign. We get grumpy, we don't like it when we start losing control, but when it's something like Alzheimer's and dementia, it does become a bigger issue, and they can very quickly they can very quickly turn on their mood because they know that they're losing control, and they get angry or they get sad or depressed. It's usually going from a good, quote unquote, or a neutral mood into a bad mood. It can go the other way also, though. If someone is normally surly and all of a sudden they're happy and giddy and laughing, it's again because the brain is doing something that's beyond the control of the person, and it's indicative that, okay, there's something else here. There's a great visual of this next step, and it's a little hard to kind of think about, but the visual helps a lot. It's challenges understanding visual and spatial information. So if it's at a stoplight, and we know that it goes red on top in America, red on top, yellow in the middle, green on the bottom, but if they reverse that and they think green is on top, and so when the top light lights up and they start to go, if you're driving with them like, what are you doing? That's a red light. No, it's green, and you know that clearly it was not. It's that difference in space. It's not that they're seeing red for green and green for red. It's that they're used to the top light being stop or go, whatever it may be. And when it lights, they're going the opposite direction. So just keep that in mind. That's a one way to consider that. And then finally, because they start to lose control, they withdraw. They don't want to be around people because they're embarrassed, or because, again, they don't know what's happening. And so they start to pull back. If you see somebody starting to pull back, please keep that in mind. But I also want to switch a little bit, because senior suicide is a very real thing as well. And that's another thing, is people start to pull back, and we don't want that to go unnoticed. If someone's starting to withdraw, that's the time to perhaps maybe get a little bit more engaged and ask, is everything okay? So I know I just talked for a very long period there, Lori. Did you have anything that you wanted
Yeah, I'm so glad that, and you didn't talk for a very long period. In fact, you talked for just the right amount of time, Matt, because you spoke from obviously experience in your profession as the director of the Terrace at Ruby View, and you spoke with compassion and the care that our community knows that you have for your senior population, and that we know that these are very real warning signs. And I'll just, I was taking notes, and obviously if you or someone you care for is suffering ongoing memory loss, if there's disorientation, difficulty performing routine tasks, comprehension of language or communication in writing, and those are all possible warning signs, either in combination or I guess if they were just simply isolated incidents that maybe started to compound, something that you should be concerned about. In the meantime, you can develop those healthy habits, as you talked about, having a place to put everything in its place. But if you do start to notice manic behavior, as you said, the episodes of depression or extreme happiness or glee or joy, alongside someone's usual behavior, if they do isolate, if their personality changes, and it's not just a mood, keep in mind too, Matt, all these things that we talked about, as we get older, there's a real fear of losing our independence, right?
There is, very much so.
That's real. And so it's hard to admit these things. It's hard to comprehend they might be happening. And that's where that vulnerability comes in to play, because as you said, it's easier to withdraw and just stop going out and doing things or talking to people. And then that can lead to that sadness, those thoughts of suicide, especially if you've lost your partner or your loved one.
Yes,
right? Okay.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too, because you touched on that vulnerability, and this kind of goes into that last part as well with the withdrawal. Some of our people, they are in denial about where they are mentally and physically. And when they misplace something, it becomes almost a paranoia. They think someone came in and moved it. They withdraw because they are afraid that people are watching them or tracking them. And especially in today's age, as I hold up my cell phone and kind of wave it, most of our seniors are well connected with the cellular phone. They may not always understand it all. Some of them can run circles around me, but these cell phones are a great tool, but it also is a challenge for someone it could be a challenge for someone that has dementia or Alzheimer, because something happens on their phone that's automatic that they don't recognize, and then they think someone has hacked their phone or someone's spying on them, because they already feel vulnerable and they feel at a loss, and now their phone, something that is very personal, is quote unquote turning against them, or it's been turned against them. And that's scary to see from an outside perspective. I can only imagine what it would be like internally. So again, please, if you have questions on any of this, visit with your doctor. If you have a loved one or a friend or a neighbor that you think may be some help here and may need some help here, talk to them compassionately. Talk to their loved ones. Encourage them to go and visit with a doctor about what these signs may look like. And we have two great groups, support groups at the community or at the senior center that we would love to invite you to. We have our Alzheimer's Association group. They meet the first Wednesday of every month, and they meet from 1 to 3. It's a terrific group, and what I've kind of explained this group as truly more of that support group. There's not an agenda per se. Just come and talk and share your experiences. Know that you're not alone. Whether you have dementia or Alzheimer's and today is a good day and you can visit, or whether you are a loved one that just says, I need a break and I feel this way and I feel terrible for feeling this way. Is that okay? Is that normal? These are people that can talk to you. They experience it. They are, they're not specialists by training. They're specialists through experience. And so that's kind of how I've explained the Alzheimer's support group. And then we also have the dementia friendly group, another compassionate group This group, though, has more of an agenda of when I say agenda, on their monthly meetings, they have certain topics they talk about. And so on this one here, they meet the third Wednesday of every month from 1 to 2:30. And they talk more on a specific topic. They have more specialists and experts by training that come in. They certainly are happy to hear your story, give you advice, give you pointers and directions, tell you that what you're feeling is okay. But this one is specifically more for learning about it, whereas the other one I think is more for the support of, I need to talk about it. And so they're both on Wednesdays, the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday. Call the Senior Center. We're happy to help you get in touch with these folks. And if you are interested in the 10 signs, it is on the Alzheimer's Association. You can find it there. You can also find it on our website. It is in our newsletter, and we'd be happy to help you as well.
elcoseniors.org is our local Terrace at Ruby View website where you can find that information. Again, these are really important support groups, Matt, as you mentioned, not just for the person who may be experiencing these warning signs or actually have been diagnosed, but for the caregivers, the support people in your family. And so I guess I would just sort of conclude and just remind people, if you are feeling this way, try not to be fearful, and do know that people will care for you in our community and that we will be there to support you. In the alternative, Matt, we also worry about people becoming vulnerable, because we know that with this kind of fear and distrust can come people who prey on our senior population, and they have done that. And that's why we have the services of Kathy Jones, who's a public guardian. We also have seen people be investigated, arrested, and go to jail for preying on elderly people, and they can be family members too. I mean, that's the tragic reality. We need to protect our senior citizens.
Absolutely. We must, because sometimes this does happen. They are a vulnerable population, and that's why there are penalties that are so high when there is abuse. If you feel that there is somebody that is abusing an elderly member of your community, let us know, please. It's best to call the Aging and Disability Services Division. There is a hotline that you can call, but we can also help you with that, and we can help you get in touch with that. But I also, on the other side, want to advise people that before you enter into a long-term agreement with somebody elderly, including your own family, talk to an attorney first. If you bring your parent into your home and it doesn't work out and you say you're no longer welcome, there could be legal consequences for that. And so I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from taking someone into their house. I fully believe that family is the best place generally when there is somebody that's in need, whether it's from the youngest ages on up to the oldest ages. I truly, in my heart, believe that. But there are circumstances that it's not the best situation for everyone involved. And there are legal ramifications for taking responsibility for a senior and then no longer wanting that responsibility. So before you make any long-term arrangements, please talk with an attorney, and perhaps have an attorney for your loved one as well, so that you're not being accused of having somebody take advantage of that. Kathy Jones is a terrific resource in our community. We also have the special advocates for the elderly. They may also be able to help, because their job is to protect the elderly, but you also, of course, have your family that you need to protect as well. And so it's not to pit you against the other person. It's really just to make sure that everybody's interests are being protected.
Matt, thank you so much. As always, great advice. And of course, you'll find this kind of support at the Terrace at Ruby View, our Center for Seniors and Active Lifestyles. We appreciate your time, Matt. 775-738-3030 if anyone has questions about what we talked about today. And they're always invited to call. And I know you personally talk to many, many people every single day about any number of issues. So thank you, Matt.
My pleasure, and thank you again for the opportunity. And happy Easter, everyone.